and welcome to Only Frames and welcome to our YouTube giveaway and knockout pairs competition. There's going to be eliminations, there's going to be 4 rounds, and there's plenty of familiar faces who you have seen take on challenges or league games throughout our YouTube careers. I say that loosely. We certainly don't have any YouTube careers, but today we have YouTube merchandise to give away. Now, YouTube were kind enough to give us plenty of goodies, but there's too many of us. I'm sure you've seen the 20 different players that we have across the channel, so we decided whoever could make it on the day, they're competing for the merchandise, including bags, umbrellas, sunglasses, there's all kinds, and for good measure we put some cash on top as well, just to reward the winners handsomely. Now, as I've explained before, this is a Scotch doubles tournament throughout the day. The pairs are Niall and Craig, Gary and Lou the dog, James and Darren, Tom and Chris, who must be favourites, and the waistcoat wonders, Brad and Scott. The first elimination game is going to be a 6-ball and a 12-ball. You add your total shots together, and those who have taken most shots after that round, they will be eliminated. Niall and Craig took 6. They started over the hole. What haddocks. And currently at the table is Gary and Lou, as well as Darren and James. So let's start following the action. We've done our introductions. You know what we're all about. Let's see some below average 8-ball pool. Now, as we start speaking about the action, on the right-hand side of the screen, it's Darren and James who are tidying up the one over the bottom right to make it 6. I thought Niall and Craig were in trouble, but it turns out that's about par. And starting at the same time was Lou and Gary, who have taken an age just to score 5. And now, finally, coming to the table are the clear favourites for this competition. It's myself and Chris. Chris begged me to be his partner because he wanted to win today, but that's a shocking start by him. He's meant to be one of the good players on the channel, but he left me no angle whatsoever to try and pop multiple balls in one shot, but I've left him perfect. Easy stun across that top cushion, which he does nicely, and I've got a great angle to try and give us an early lead to make it in 4. Coming to the table on the left hand side is a waistcoated wieners, is Brad and Scott. Chris must have left me a bad angle because I couldn't find the combination, but I've given Chris an easy chance to tuck it in for 5 to make us the joint leaders at this early stage. We're the favourites. We've got it all to lose as we move to a single screen. Scott's coming to the table. He's used to playing snookers, but today can he pot some balls that are over the hole? Now Scott's at the table, potting the one over the bottom left-hand pocket, but he hasn't shown great teamwork there. He's left Brad a bad angle. He should have been a foot further down the table. Give Brad the opportunity to stun across to pot them both in one shot. Scott's telling him what to do. If only if Brad had told Scott where to lead the cue ball in the first place, we wouldn't have had this problem. A bit of run inside, he manages to combination, but the white goes in. Penalty stroke added. They walk away with 5. There's hardly anything in it. Currently Brad and Scott, Tom and Chris are ahead, but there's only one shot between all the pairs. This could go down to the wire. Lou the dog's at the table in the 12-ball challenge with Gary, and anyone who knows Lou, these aren't guaranteed. Although they're starting over the hole, he may not pot them, as you found out in his Road to Dish campaign. It's been 120 days and he's got nowhere near. That guy's an embarrassment, but we love him nonetheless. He's a former fan favourite, but now the people are starting to turn. They've had enough. They think he's missing on purpose. Who is going to progress and who will be eliminated? It's all to play for. Back to the action. Lou the dog at the table. Darren's at the table. Who's going to set the bar for the rest of us to try and beat? After a quick change in the studios for me, we return to the action, and neither team are finding many combinations until then, when Gary manages to pot 2 in just the one shot, bringing Lou back to the table, and he's looking to sink one to the top right, but it can only wipe its feet, cancelling out all of Gary's good work he had done in the previous shot. Darren's to the table now. Scott's forever berating him for being a teapot. He has his hand on his hip, but the hips don't lie, and he's managed to pull off a fluky combination. It's better to be lucky than good in this game. He's also left the wing with a great angle. He can pot this one in the middle, run the cue ball down, but he's unable to do so. He was unable to pot that yellow over the bottom left-hand pocket. It looked as though it was natural, but the other yellow got in the way as Darren looks to fluke another ball, but he can't do so. Now Gary's on the left-hand side of the screen looking to play a skill shot, but he'll be feeling blue after that one. He'll be disappointed, but he's left Lou the dog an easy one down to the bottom right-hand pocket, but no combination's going to be possible. But where's that cue ball? He couldn't have left it any more difficult if he tried. Gary is ruining his partner. He can't believe he's been given this haddock, but Gary managed to sink it nonetheless, and a cue ball stays up, but Wing on the right-hand side was unable to pot it, and he's left a tricky angle. Darren's going to have to come off the cushion, which he manages to do so. That's a good pot. Gary and Lou are safe. They've taken 16. James and Darren remain in danger on 17. Chris and Tom on the left. Noel and Craig on the right. All to play for as Craig misses one completely and almost sinks a Lou ball, but that cue ball stays up. Noel must be absolutely livid. I'm on the table now. I've managed to get all the gear deep screw, but nowhere near that top right-hand pocket. That's great cueing, but not great execution. Chris is going to come here. He's going to look to play some form of combination using that bottom right-hand pocket. I'm not sure that's the right way. He's just hit and hope. That's like watching Brad. That's not good enough, but he has left me an opportunity. Nice little stun across here, I'm sure. Try and free up that bottom left-hand pocket. No, I've cannoned into the two, but where's the cue ball going? That's a Lou ball. He'll be absolutely livid. Is that going to cost the favourites in this early matchup? They could be eliminated if they can't turn their fortunes round. Luckily, Noel and Craig are struggling on the other table as we move into the final proceedings of these two pairs. Now, I managed to suffer a few minutes ago trying to get confused with struggling and suffering, but neither of these pairs are looking to end up feeling that way today. Chris and Tom have done the maths quickly and they've realised if they pot their balls just in single shots, they're going to be doing enough to go through. It's all about staying in the competition. You don't need to win at this early stage to progress. You just need to hang in there. That was smart from Chris and Tom. I'm sure I would have come up with that tactic. Noel and Craig look like they are struggling. They're on to 18. The only hope they've got is that Brad and Scott mess this up. Craig needs to roll this in to finish them with 19, which he manages to do. And now Scott and Brad have 12 shots to play with. Even these two numpties, I'm sure, can produce pool good enough to remain in this competition. But it's happened before. We've had one of our players take 19 shots at this challenge. They start over the hole. How is that possible? Scott's at the table. He's playing one to the top left, trying to get lucky. He's unable to do so. Brad's about to return. Who's going to progress? Let's find out. Now, Brad sinking this one to the bottom right here will leave them in a great position. They've taken 10 shots. They've got 5 balls remaining. If they pot them all in single visits, then they will progress through as the leaders. And who would have thought that before this game had started? They look like failed magicians, the like you'd see at Butlins or some other holiday camp. But can they make these balls disappear? And I'll tell you something for free. If Brad asks you to see what's in his pocket, do not put your hand in there. That's not loose change, and that certainly isn't an eggplant either. Brad's going to look to send this one to the middle. Now all of a sudden they are under pressure, under more pressure than they needed to be. Scott's going to have to do some quick maths here. He needs to find out what they need. He's asking, what do we need to do from here? These two don't go, they don't plant in. I'm sure he's going to roll into them and just free them up so Brad can pot one. He manages to do that nicely. They need to pot both of these in 4 shots. Surely they can't fail from here. This would be a disaster if they manage to do so. Brad needs to take this one up to the top left-hand pocket. even play it dead weight, so if you miss it, Scott can pot it. He blasts it, but he does sink it, and now they're going to progress through. They've got a score of 17. We lose Noel and Craig as we move on to our next challenge, which is the 21 ball challenge. Now the rules are simple in this one, 21 balls start and you have a minute to pot as many as you can, but the only alteration today is we are playing in Scotch doubles, which is alternate shots. First up is Darren and James. Work together, pot as many as you can, it's nice and simple, but so far they're not having a rapid start. They're taking too long between shots, they're moving the cue ball too far between them, they're forever moving, and that's what you don't want. Maybe roll this win, and you need to start thinking about what your opponent may do. This is a challenge we've invented ourselves, so get in the comments, let us know what you think of it, and let us know what you think a good score should be. Is it easier to play as singles or in Scotch doubles? We're still trying to work that out as well. A lot of the time has ticked by now, and these two are only on 7. Surely 10 is a minimum. They're taking too long between shots, they're thinking about it too much. You need to play on instinct, it's the last moment, and they end up on 8. Is that going to be enough to progress? Only time will tell as we move on to Gary and Lou the dog. Now, as ever, Lou the dog is dressed in one of his favourite band t-shirts, and today he's wearing Guns N' Roses. But will they be going to the Paradise City, or will they be knocking on heaven's door after this performance in a Scotch doubles competition? They've already made it to 5, so they've had a pretty good start, but time is ticking away. Can they start to work together and work in unison, like Tom Daley and his partner in synchronised diving? But I wouldn't want to see either of these two in their Speedos, although Brad does like knitting, much like Tom Daley does himself. We're heading towards the end. They've made it to 10. They're going to be progressing. Can they get a couple more just to lay down a marker for everyone else to beat? Time is nearly at an end. They're up to 11. Gary's about to hit one. Can he sink this towards the middle? Lou the dog on the buzzer. What can he do? Can he sink it bottom right? Yes, he can. This time's going on longer than I could ever have imagined, but finally it's over. They set 13. That's unlucky for some, but that's good enough for them. Coming to the table now are Tom and Chris, the pre-tournament favourites, but can they work together to set a good total here? Let's find out. Chris and Tom are an unlikely pair in this lineup here today, but it was picked by the fans. They feel that Tom is suffering so badly that eventually he needs to win something, and the only person on the channel who can lead him to victory is Chris, but they haven't had the best to start here. They're not in conjunction, they're not working together. It's not like Torval and Dean and the Bolero. There's no synchronicity. They're both alpha males wanting to dominate, but they look to get in their stride here. They're working together, knowing which side of the table each one's gonna be. They're preempting each other's shots whenever they can work out, and Chris couldn't work out what was happening there. They've made it to 10, so they're good enough to get through. As this time nears to an end, there's only a few seconds remaining. Can they get one on the buzzer just to set a nice total? They can't, but they are safely through with 11, but so far they haven't performed as well as they should be today. Up next, it's Brad and Scott. They've got 8 to beat to progress. Can they do it? 21 started, and that's an abysmal start with a loo ball. And you need to wait for the cue ball to come through the table before you can continue. How many will they make? Let's find out. Now, as I've mentioned before, these two look like failed magicians, but can they pull the rabbit out of the hat here after a terrible start? That won't help with Brad missing a simple one towards the bottom left. Scott's going to need to carry these two if they're going to look to progress into the next round here. They're taking too long. They're not working in conjunction with one another. They are not so far producing the qualities that any team should. They've dressed the same, but they're not playing on the same frequencies. That's going to need to change in the final seconds of this game. They've managed to make it to 6. They need 2 more to progress. Can Brad sink this one? No, he cannot. This is applying more pressure than it needed to do. Scott manages to fluke one, but where's the stopper? Where's the buzzer? When will this end? They're on 8 as well. Brad can't pot it. We're gonna need a playoff, and we are gonna have a 6 red decider each Scotch doubles. First to pot all 6 balls will progress. We move to the split screen for this epic battle. It's Brad and Scott versus James and Darren. James and Darren on the left and Scott and Brad on the right-hand side. Now, I won't give away the victor, but I can tell you this is one of the closest battles in six-ball history. This is tighter than a duck's arse at the finish. It's tighter than Brad when it's his time to get the round in. He always ghosts it when it's his responsibility. Darren and James have the early lead. They're down to 4 while Scott and Brad remain on 5. This is not great from Brad and Scott, but will they pull it back as this game continues? Now both teams are down to 3 as we enter the final endings of this game. They're over halfway. James is looking to sink one bottom right, which he manages to do and leaves a pretty good cue ball. Brad manages to fluke one into the middle and Scott and Brad are on their last ball, as is James. He's looking to double it while Brad and Scott have one over the hole. He's dribbled it and Brad pots his. That is so close. We go back to it for late drama. Which is going to drop first? I believe it is James and Darren. They just about do it while Brad's cue ball is going. I need a break and a lie down after that. They're shaking their hands. That is epic. I've not seen the likes. That is the closest game in the history of pool. Now we're moving on to pool golf for some tranquility and for me to have a relaxing time. After I've recovered from that epic battle, we move on to golf. Pool golf, that is. You need to put each ball in his corresponding pocket. Tom spotted the one down to the bottom right and Chris is going to put the 2 to the right middle. You're moving anti-clockwise round the table. So next up is this red ball into the top right hand pocket. After that, the purple top left. That orange light colour over there on the left hand side, that needs to go into the middle left hand pocket. And the green, that one on the bottom right cushion or towards it, that needs to go in the bottom left pocket. You're trying to do this in the fewest shots possible. So let us know what you think a good score would be, as we've never undertaken this challenge so far. So far, myself and Chris, we've taken 4 shots. We potted 3 balls and I'm going to look to roll this one in. Try and maybe leave Chris an angle to pot it, but that wasn't going to be easy. But if not, we can take it in 2. Chris might need to play this just towards the middle. I can sink it and try and get him on position for that green ball into the bottom left hand pocket. That won't be easy, and I need to remember where that green needs to go, as what's about to happen is a brain fade of epic proportions. Something you'd see the likes of Brad do. This is horrendous. I thought it needed to go bottom right. That is abysmal. Chris is absolutely livid with me. Can Chris double this and get us away with 8? I think it's going to be good enough to progress. He's lining it up. We're going to need to get lucky. I held my head in my hands. I was so downbeat. I just assumed we were potting into this bottom right hand pocket, forgetting we'd already done that with the number 1 ball. Chris is going to look to cut it. He gets a decent cue ball and manages to bump it out. We've got away with 1 there and we're walking away with 9, but will that be good enough to progress with 2 more pairs to follow us? Up next is Lou the dog and Gary, and they're adopting the same tactics as myself and Chris. A roll into the bottom right to leave a double on the 2 ball into the middle pocket. Position should be natural, and now Lou the dog's in a great position to pot this one top right, but he's going to be wrong side of the 4th ball because of the angle on this cue ball. Will he look to just roll it in and take his medicine? He managed to hold the cue ball, which he done pretty well, but he's forgot to pot the ball. That is abysmal when he's left Gary in all kinds of problems. Maybe just flick off it, Gary. Tee Lou up to then get back on track, but he looks like he's going to try and chip it in, and that's going to cause chaos. He had no idea where the cue ball was going, and he's moved ball 5. That's going to make it trickier. Actually, has it made it easier? That needs to go in the left-hand middle pocket, but will he be able to get on it from that purple ball? Not with an angle like that from Lou the dog. He's left Gary tight on that ball cushion. Gary will be livid. He'll be cannon into ball 5, and they'll have no idea where it's going to go. They pushed it too far down the table, and I'm calling it now. There is no way that they are doing this in 9. Once again, let us know what you think a good score will be on this challenge. And don't forget, we are available across all the social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, where you can follow our short form content. So don't forget, like, subscribe, tell people about us. You've got this far into the video, so you must like below average 8 ball as Gary tries to produce something above average, but he can only sink the cue ball, donating a further £1 into the Lou Pot charity, which I'm sure you're all aware of by now. Lou manages to sink that one, but he gives Gary absolutely no angle. They've already had 10. They're going to be relying on a miracle from James and Darren, who are up next. Where's the cue ball? They managed to fluke one last doors. They have a hug. They know that the nail is in their coffin, but can James and Darren hammer it in? They're rolling one down to the bottom right hand pocket. Gonna look to double this, but how many will they take? Let's stay tuned and find out if they can progress into a final between themselves and Tom and Chris, who are already assured a place in the final. Darren's at the table here trying to sink that 3 into the top right hand pocket, which he manages to do nicely. This isn't going to be easy to transition from 4 to 5 though. All I can really think is they may roll this in and leave a treble. Try and play it off the 2 cushions, leave it near the middle pocket for a roll in after that. I'm assuming that's what they've planned, as Darren's come immediately to the table. He's had a look at the cushion where he wants to hit it. This looks pretty good. It's tracking and he manages to sink it. Can these guys set 6? This would be incredible. We didn't think it would be possible, and let alone on our first ever attempt of this challenge. Would you like to see us take this on more often? Let us know your thoughts. We think it's a great game, but what do you guys think? Darren's got a bit of a stretch here. He might need to get the rest out, or is he going to come off the cushion? He's absolutely gutted. He must be vertically challenged like Lou the dog himself. He decides that off one cushion is safe enough. They've got enough shots to play with. He sinks it. They take 7. That's a great score, and they progress to the final. It's James and Darren versus Chris and Tom in a best of 3. It's Scotch doubles and it's black ball rules. The first break of this matchup was dry, bringing James to the table, and he's looking to sink a red into the middle pocket, which he does very nicely indeed. Darren's now coming to the table, looking to take that one down to the bottom right, and these two today have worked perfectly in unison. They've been a great pairing, they've complemented each other well, but can they get over this final hurdle? James maybe has overrun that cue ball there. I'm not sure what he was actually playing. It might have been worth just screwing it back, but I'm not sure that red even went down to the bottom right. Anyway, the way that I was looking at it, does this one cut into the middle? It does manage to do so, but that cue ball is running out of life. Surely from here they're going to struggle to clear up. I'm not sure if they can see one to pot one. James looks like he's going to take the middle red up towards the top of the table, try and cut it in. It's a pretty good attempt, but he brings Tom and Chris back to the table. Chris is going to look to stretch one down, flick this off, maybe just get it out into open play. He's actually played a safety. That's embarrassing, and I'm ashamed of ourselves for playing it. We have shown our true colours there, playing safeties when it matters most. We reverted to the Scott game book. Darren manages to sink a nice one to the top left, but they're going to do well once again to clear up from here. Although our yellows are absolutely terrible, it looks like we're in charge of the frame due to Chris's earlier safety shot. I'm coming back to the table. I'm playing absolutely abysmal right now. As soon as it becomes normal pool, I'm missing any ball that's there for the taking. Can I manage to sink one to the middle? It's a miracle. That's the first ball I've put it in months. That is great. Is that going to settle my nerves? Can Chris carry me to victory? I need this YouTube merchandise. Chris manages to sink one nicely to the bottom right hand pocket, and he's left me the angle to pot this one and potentially move the other one off the cushion. That's what looked like was going to be our problem ball as this visit unfolded, but I can't even sink it. I've reverted back to type. I can't put a ball to save my life at the moment. Bringing Darren back to the table, who Scott is forever saying in his comms is like Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast, but he's going to need to be Gareth Potts here because these aren't easy, and that wasn't the simplest of shots for him. I think they just tried to flick it out, but that hasn't gone into a great location. Chris Chris now comes to the table. He's deliberating. I've taken myself away. There's no point me offering him advice. I'm playing so badly, I can't help whatsoever. Maybe I'm going to take this dodgy ball, roll it up towards the top right-hand pocket and look to get a blocker in, because I tell you now, I'm not going to pot it, and I've managed to take it away from the cushion. It looked like it rolled out, but it certainly didn't. That's just where I hit it so badly. James is a maverick, so he's going to try and pot this ball, maybe use a big pocket that my yellow's created and swing the cue ball round, but he can't manage to do so, and that's another loo ball. And he's even potted one of our yellows for us, which was even kinder of him, giving myself and Chris a great chance to take this opening frame. Chris flicks one out, and now from here, surely this is an absolute dolly. Pitch this one down to the bottom right-hand pocket. Little run off the cushion, giving Chris the choice of 2 or even 3 balls. Take your pick and fill your boots. This all of a sudden is a buffet table. But will we be dining out? Will we be filling ourselves up? Or will we come up short and not get our value for the money? Chris pots that one to the middle, giving myself a chance to pop this one down to the bottom left, and hopefully I can leave Chris in a good position to get me onto that 8 ball. But I've managed to overcook it. I've run it too far. That's not nearly as easy as it needed to be. Darren's having a quick look at the angle that I've left, and I am absolutely gutted. Chris will be able to sink this one to the top right, but where can he get the cue ball? He's managed to overrun it, and I'm not convinced it goes into this bottom hole. Chris tells me it does, but I'm not convinced. I need my eyes in. Chris is saying it flies in, but at no point am I convinced. But can I hold my nerve? Sink it to the bottom left. He's telling me to worry about the cue ball as well. What is going to unfold here? I'm looking to take the 8 to the bottom left, but that's nowhere near. That's absolutely embarrassing. Giving Darren a chance to take this opening frame. This won't be easy for Darren. It's a thin cut down to that bottom left-hand pocket. If he pots it, they should be on the 8 ball, but this is all about the pot. He's hit it too thick, but where's the cue ball? At first it looked like it may be a snooker, but it wasn't meant to be. Chris has got the simplest of 8s for us to take a 1-0 lead, and a best of 3 is a race to 2. We move on to the second frame. Darren's breaking, sending the cue ball off the table. It's had some journey, darting across the room over to Noel, and I'm first to play. I'm looking to sink this red into the middle pocket, which I do nicely, and these are all there. Can we stay composed? Can we take out this as a 2-0 victory? Let's find out. Chris sinks one to the bottom left-hand pocket, and with each ball that disappears, you're struggling to work out how this could go wrong. But it's about to now, I can assure you, because I'm at the table. Trying to roll this one into the left-hand pocket, trying to hold that cue ball, which I'm unable to do. I'm making life hard for Chris. I bet he is gutted that he's got me as a partner. He could win with anyone, and he's having to work double as hard just because he's with me. But that's a good shot from Chris. He's given me a chance. Which ball would you take? I'm going to take this red up to the top left-hand pocket, try and stun the ball off the cushion, come back over to the left-hand side, hopefully leave Chris on it so that he can have a simple roll in and leave me on the 8 ball, run it through. Can I pot this to the top left? I have, but I've not got into it enough, and I've managed to snooker Chris. This is a nightmare. What am I doing? I'm short of about 3 inches, which has been the story of my life, but this should be a pretty simple escape for Chris. One cushion, hit the red, bringing James and Darren back to the table, but he's unable to do so. He's given them ball in hand. What can they do from here? James is at the table. He's dressed in pink. He's pretty at that as well, and he's looking to play the development shot of those 2 yellows that were touching, but that's not a great improvement on where those balls were situated already. What can they come up with here? James is suggesting to put this one into the middle to start to open up the table for them. Darren's down on it, playing it dead weight, and he sinks a ball nicely, but can they get onto these 3 down towards the bottom of the table? Do any of them go? Maybe that one in the middle of them goes down to the bottom right. If James can sink it, that will open it up. He can't do so, but he's managed to get second prize. He's managed to find a snooker, or can I see an edge of it? Everyone's having a look. Once again, my eyes are in question. Maybe if I can see it, this will double into the middle. It could be natural. Let's find out what will unfold here. I'm down on it. Got the worst cue action in the world. Look to double it. I've managed to hit the knuckle. That's a pretty good attempt for me. We wouldn't have been on the 8, no doubt, but still I managed to hit it and it almost went in. And that feels like a massive win at the moment. But this all of a sudden is a real chance for James and Darren. Can they take it out? Can they keep this game alive? As James manages to miss one, he'll be absolutely gutted with that. That feels like a massive change in the motion, the forward running of this frame from here. Chris gets to the table. This is a gimme for someone of his calibre. But can he manage to leave that 8? Simple enough for me to pot down to the bottom right-hand pocket. He pots a red as I come to the table. Can I hold my nerve? I've not potted an 8 in months. I haven't been winning any frames. It's close, it's tracking, it's wiped his feet, and Chris and Tom are crowned our YouTube champions. The greatest pairing since York and Cole, since Torval and Dean.